Thank you both for being here. Even the stage manager downstairs was like, she's Olivia Dan Pope, for God's sakes. Everyone's really excited you're both here. So,
we're excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
I want to start with the state of Hollywood, which has been a theme for the last couple of days. You've been through a pandemic, an economic downturn, 2 strikes. How would you describe the environment right now if you want to make good stuff? And how is that changing your strategy?
The environment if you want to make good stuff. I think it's always hard to make good stuff. I think when you are oriented and geared toward excellence creatively, that's always going to be a challenge. That's internal in many ways, right? That drive to push yourself past okay into greatness. But there is an added external challenge, given what you just said, around an impulse to constrict, because we're coming out of some really hard moments. So I think there are always challenges creatively to kind of meeting the level that we want to meet, but definitely the business has unique challenges because of a desire to be more risk averse.
Pilar?
Yeah, I would just add, I think that right now it's just challenging to make anything, right? I mean, it's, and what everything that anybody can make is good. It's obviously good enough that it got made, right? Somebody likes it, there's an audience for it, there's an executive for it. Like, you have to look at it like that. What we want to make is different than what somebody else will want to make. So it's just a challenging time in general. And when you do get something made, that's a great thing.
Can I say, to piggyback on you, I think that's what you said is really a fun idea also, because I do think there has been kind of a democratization on what good means, right? That the gatekeepers have changed, and there's not, with the revelation that there are many different kinds of audiences, there are many different kinds of good. So there's the good that meets the critics, and that could be very different from the good that brings in audiences. And so there's more opportunity to be good in the way that is important to you. Now, having platforms that support all those different kinds of good can be challenging.
Do you worry at all that people are going to be less willing to take risks or more likely to make safe bets and do less of the stuff, the good that you care about?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And so how is that changing your strategy?
I mean, it's tough. They are risk adverse. So I think, as one of our agents said to us the other day on the phone, he was like, you got to go straight down the middle and hit the ball out of the park. Like, you just have to strategize with each other, with our team, with our agents, with everyone, to figure out how can we package something that's going to be able to go straight down the middle and hit it out of the park. Because right now, people are going to be more adverse. We'll look at our slate, and while something was amazing 3 years ago and felt like we were going to be able to get it made, we have to figure out how to build off of that today. How can we make it feel more desirable? How can we make it feel more undeniable? Just being more strategic in today's world, because people are not willing to take risks. They're just not.
But I will say, straight down the middle, it's important that, because it's important to clarify that straight down the middle doesn't mean bland. No. It doesn't mean for the most common denominator. It doesn't mean trying to make something for everybody, something that doesn't have edges or specificity. Straight down the middle almost means the opposite in this moment, right? It means so strategic, so specific, so clear. So I think one of the kind of unexpected, wonderful impacts of how challenging the ecosystem has become is that we have had to make sure that we are more committed to content than we've ever been before. Because the fight is so real that if we jump onto something or we develop something, we have no choice but to have to love it. Love it, love it, love it. Because if you're not willing to get in the ring and fight for it with everything you have, then don't even bother, right? So it's really forced us to kind of prioritize, to be more clear with each other, more transparent with each other, more honest with ourselves about what we really, truly care about.
So speaking of loving it, Scandal ran on ABC for 7 seasons, right? You were the first Black woman to play a leading role in a network drama in 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Olivia Pope is still an icon.
Yeah.
But 7 seasons is a really long time now, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Do you think scandal could happen today?
No. No.
People are
100%
so devastated.
No. I'll tell you, for so many reasons. First of all, there hadn't been a black woman as the lead of a network drama in almost 40 years. I was in my early 30s at the time, so it hadn't happened in my lifetime. I hadn't seen it. And everybody called it a risk. The studio thought it was a risk. The network thought it was a risk. Everybody was proud of ABC Disney for taking this risk. We've talked about how the environment right now is so risk averse. So I don't know that it would have been greenlit with me, with a black woman at the center. And it wasn't the first idea. I mean, Shonda Rhimes has talked about this publicly. When they first read the script, the executives were like, this is a great role for Connie Britton. And I love Connie. You guys be nice. I love Connie, but the show was inspired by a real woman named Judy Smith, who is a black woman. If it hadn't been inspired by a real woman who is a black woman, then everybody would have said, let's make her white. They didn't have the option to say that, right? The other reason I don't think Scandal would have happened is because we have an amazing show, super proud of, called Unprisoned. There went 2, thank you. There went 2 seasons.
There's some video of that as well.
Went 2 seasons on Hulu as part of Onyx Collective. Unfortunately, we're not getting a 3rd season. Thanks. They've made that decision based on 2 seasons, which is 20 episodes? 16 episodes. That is less than 1 season of Scandal. The first season was a mid-season replacement, but we got extended, and we were on the bubble until the end of our 2nd season. So it took us close to 40 episodes before people thought, okay, this show's it's gonna work out. Another season before we were really a global hit. So shows are getting canceled before they even had a runway in the past.
And is that disappointing? Did you campaign them to change their minds?
We did. We did. It's hard. I mean, you know, it's also hard because the landscape is so rich with opportunity. There's so much stuff to watch, and we feel like there could have been some different choices made around launch and how the show was put into the world. But you also have to know that, like in any business, right, like, you got to collect your nose. Not everything's going to be Scandal. Not everything's going to hit in the exact same way. We've had extraordinary successes, and we're just going to keep moving. We have another show that's part of Onyx Collective on Hulu right now, Reasonable Doubt, and that show is doing just great. So, you know, part of it is, again, you know, like any other business, we diversify our content. The shows are very different. They have some similar themes, which is great, but, you know, we just get back to work. I mean, Pilar always talks about head down, just get to work.
So let's talk about that, because you started Simpson Street with this mission to inspire real change, to inspire uncomfortable conversations, and get us all to face these emotional truths.
So that's not true.
Okay. Correct me, please.
So I would not say that we founded Simpson Street to inspire change. When I founded Simpson Street, our first project was Confirmation, which was a film for HBO inspired by the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill hearings. The inspiration wasn't to create change. It was to center stories that don't get centered. It was to shift perspective and to increase our capacity for compassion. So I think we still, I think we still really work at sitting at the intersection of what makes each of us truly unique individual, that every single one of us has a specific story that is to us, but we sit at the intersection of what makes us different and what makes us the same. Because as different as we are, we're all in the same human story of we want to belong, we want to love, we're afraid, we're needy, we have desires, we have longings. We're all living the same human journey in lots of different containers. So that's what we do. It's not about wanting to change people or feeling like the world needs to be a better place. Unfortunately, because of a lot of the content that we create is focused on centering marginalized voices, because we want to focus on the specificity of what makes us different. So we don't want to tell the same story again and again. We're like bringing stories from the corners into the center. That gets interpreted as political. When you put a woman at the center, people call it political. When you put a person of color at the center, people call it political. When you put a person who's differently able-bodied, people call it political. But it's not political, it's just human. So, I'm sorry, you had a question. question.
You answered my question. You know, how do you, this is a business at the end of the day.
Yes.
How do you protect your creative and cultural and, you know, human aspirations from the business expectations and the performance expectations?
It's a great question.
You go.
Me? Yeah. I feel like a big part of it is our partnership.
Yes.
Because we come at this from different lenses, from different trajectories. Pilar kind of came up through behind the scenes production. She thinks about the business of show in a different way. And I came up obviously as a creative, as an artist. And I've always been an artist who's been really interested in production and the business. And she's always been a production business person who's very committed to artistry. So it's a really wonderful partnership. And when I think we're always thinking about that balance, like we don't want to be we don't want to be making like skits in a black box theater for audiences of 2. Like that's not a business model. But we do want to challenge ourselves to go beyond mandates to create something innovative, creative, and spectacular.
Well, Daughters on Netflix is, I will say, spectacular. Honestly, if you have, it's you kind of know it's going to be a hard watch, and if you have an hour and a half, like, watch this movie. It is mindset changing, and this little girl Aubrey, she's just captured my heart, and I'm trying to follow her all over social media. Like, where's Aubrey now?
Yeah.
How do you decide what to throw your weight behind? Because I'm sure that there are, just like we're having uncomfortable conversations in our world, you must be also having those conversations internally when you're trying to figure out what are we really going to throw our weight behind if we only have one shot?
This one was an easy one, honestly. It was sent to us, and we all watched it, and it was pretty much a yes. We feel like we could help this movie. We feel like we can help these filmmakers. Having Kerry behind it, going to Sundance, putting it out into the world with her voice and everything that she can talk about and talk to these little girls felt like truly a no-brainer for us. And we were really, really grateful that they sent it to us. And I think now we're happy to be included into that party and be in business with them and get this story out there. So this was like,
Agreed.
It was just an easy no-brainer. We said yes right away to this.
It's a really special film for anybody who hasn't seen it. It's about a very special program for fathers who are incarcerated, where they go through a parenthood training process, as you can see on screen. And at the end of it, they have a father-daughter dance where they get to take off their prison jumpsuits and put on suits. And the daughters you take them out and they get their dresses and they get their hair did. And there's a DJ and there's food, and they really, for those hours, they are not prisoners, they are dads. And the rates of recidivism have been transformed completely. So many dads who go through the program say, I now know why I'm staying out. I understand what I'm living for. It's transformed families. It's a really, really special program. So it's interesting because part of the reason why it was sent to us was because of Unprisoned. Because I played a character, Paige, whose dad was in and out of prison her whole life. And so our understanding of this issue was immediate. And they knew that how close we were to this topic and to the way that the so-called justice system impacts families.
Daughters is on Netflix. Your other series are on Hulu. Obviously, you have a long relationship with ABC. What's the difference between working with a Netflix or a Hulu or an HBO and a traditional network? Because obviously, the center of power has shifted towards streaming.
Yeah, I mean, are there traditional networks anymore? Even when it comes to Hulu, a lot of times people are watching something that aired immediately on ABC, they're watching it on Hulu the next day, right? Like that platform has become same with, it used to be with Paramount. But so the ecosystem has completely been transformed. And I think it's very hard anymore to say I'm making something for a network or for a streamer. It's all become one thing.
And is there a difference between the streamers?
Oh, yeah.
And how would you describe the differences?
But I would also add,
That's good.
called
Pivot.
partnership.
Pivot, Pilar,
It's
pivot.
a great question for writers to talk about the difference between networks and streamers, because I do think for us as non-writing EPs,
That's true.
we have a specific job to help these showrunners foster their stories, get it sold, casting, all of those things. I think as a writer, when you are writing for broadcast or you're writing for Netflix or a Hulu, it's the tone, the notes, all of that is very, very different. So I think that's a better question for a writer who's in it with there are certain writers who are fantastic at network. There are certain writers that can't do it. It's a science, and we've tried it. We've made a bunch of pilots for ABC. We were unsuccessful with them, but we learned so much.
Whereas we've had a string of successes on Hulu,
Yeah.
from Little Fires to Reasonable Doubt, yay. So it's really they are different.
It's different. It really is. And I shy away from broadcast, to be honest with you. I mean, people will call us all the time and say, we have a broadcast idea. And I'm like, it's not really for us. Like, it's not necessarily our strong suit. Now, if Yvette Lee Bowser calls me and says, Pilar, I have an idea, I want to take it to ABC, I would go do that with her. Because
she knows how to do it.
She knows how to do it. Unfortunately, if a writer who doesn't have that much experience, I don't think that we can be best served to that. I don't think we can serve them the best. I think there's other producers out there that are better at that than we are.
And, I should ask it this way, as creators, do you have a hope? Oh, I hope this goes to Netflix. I hope this lands on Hulu. I hope this is an HBO.
No, it's
You're just
not.
like, I just want this out there.
Neither. It's about finding the right fit. I want to put content in the place where content is going to thrive best. And so different material resonates with different executives in different ways. So it's always for us about figuring out what the right fit is, what the right match is. There are projects that would really thrive in a Netflix that are not going to do so well at Hulu. So you want to get to the place that is going to have your back and where you can fulfill their mandate, right? So that you're both growing and being pleased.
There's been a lot of coverage about, women-founded production companies. Reese Witherspoon, I was just talking to her at China Way last weekend. She mentioned you. Obviously, there's Nicole Kidman. I've seen some reporting that indicates, things are so much better now. There are more roles for women. There are more roles for middle-aged women. I cover tech, and sometimes in tech, more recently, it feels like things are moving backwards. In Hollywood, what direction do you feel like you're moving in?
Yes. Both. I mean, I think there's been extraordinary progress. I say to Pilar all the time, I'm so happy that I was born now and not born, I think I've always imagined a great SNL skit, because white people say to each other all the time, what year would you love to live in if it wasn't now? You don't ask a black person, no other time I want to live, thank you very much. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40, no, the answer is no, right? So I think it's similar for women, not really excited about living in any time other than now, as a woman either, but that doesn't mean we don't have to do more. Right? There has been enormous progress, but there is also some backsliding. When we talk about being risk averse, and we talk about a constriction, if the people who are greenlighting and making the most important decisions are not like me, then that constriction may leave me on the outside. So yes. So I think there has been enormous progress, and I think we still have a lot of work to do.
How do you think about, I don't want to say new formats, but obviously now so much is happening on social media, and you've really embraced social media on YouTube. How do you think about opportunities in formats beyond now the center of gravity is with streaming, but what's next? There's, so much is happening on TikTok and Shorts, and, what direction do you think this is going in?
I think you have to embrace all of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have our great digital series, The Street You Grew Up On, which Kerry hosts, which started off in the middle of the pandemic, and Kerry was shooting those with our social media director, Emily, on Zoom, and it has grown, and we've been able to see it grow. We're on our fourth season. And so we have embraced that, right? And it's been fantastic. And they work so hard at putting that together. And Kerry loves it and thrives on it. But the way that we've done that has shifted, right? It started off in the pandemic, and now we have brand partnerships, and we're trying to figure out how we can make it grow. So you have to embrace everything that's coming at us, while also keeping your eye on not traditional, but streaming and all of that. You have to branch out. You have to be open. You have to, we have some unscripted series where we're trying to figure out where it can live. And so it's like, who is this person? Who's the lead of it? Who are their brand partnerships? How can we figure out how to get something made financially with them as well? And where can it live?
Mm-hmm. Lucas,
if you haven't watched Street you grew up on, you should watch it. It's great. It's on YouTube. It's really fun. Season 4 coming soon.
Thank you. Lucas has tried to go there a few times on politics, and no one has really taken it. Kerry, you have gone there. You have been going there on social media. You were knocking on doors in Arizona this weekend. You made a huge appearance at the DNC. We have less than 30 days to go. It's go time. What is your message to the audience?
I'll just say what I keep asking myself. I keep reminding myself that I do not want to wake up in a month and wonder what else I could have done. And it's not a game. I think so many of us feel like the democratic process is somebody else's responsibility and somebody else's job. And I know how busy we all are and that we are all managing multiple priorities, and we have shareholders and we have board members and we have bosses. But a democracy is a government by the people, for the people, and we are the people. So if we don't step up, we are literally handing our power over. And in this room in particular, like, one thing I'm always trying to convey to voters is, every politician that has a job is getting paid by you. Like, their salary is paid by our tax dollars. So to not hold them accountable and be part of the decision-making process of who has that job and who doesn't is really being a poor manager. And so one place we all need to be focused on practicing our business and management skills right now is in democracy.
When you were, thank you, yeah. When you were knocking on doors this weekend, what surprised you most?
I think what is most inspiring is, it was 108 degrees in Arizona. And there are grassroots organizers who have been doing this work on the ground and for years. Campaigns come into community every 4 years, and they say, like, vote for this candidate. And sometimes communities say, like, why? I only see you every 4 years. And so now there have been, not now, for a long time, there have been these grassroots organizations all over the country. In Arizona, it's groups like Poder in Action and Lucha, and they are on the ground 365 days of the year, every single year. They don't wait for candidates. They're campaigning on issues. They're connected to the community to figure out what the community needs, and they're empowering those communities to vote on their values. And that's what I think is so inspiring, because it's not about hero worship. It's not about one person who's going to save us all. It really is about the day-to-day participation and making sure that our most powerful people, our leaders, hear us and see us and know us and are representing us, not just their own best interests.
All right. Eras has been a theme for all of us our last year. What is the next era of Simpson Street? What is the next era of Kerry Washington?
Oh, God.
I think, what comes to mind? Anything?
No.
I think the next era for Simpson Street is bold. It's bold. And for me, it's peace.
I love that. We will be looking out for your bold and peaceful and good stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kerry Washington and Pilar Savone.
That's great.